Hey everyone, it's Mark here and welcome back to DigiProfits. In this video, I want to have a look at what may possibly be a bear trap being set up here on the short-term time frame with regards to Bitcoin and by correlation with regards to Joule. And I want to have a quick chat about how that impacts all of altcoins and why there's a little bit of a bleed that goes on when Bitcoin drops in price while it's in a bearish phase. And also we're going to have a look at some price targets and so forth. Now I just want to show you guys, look at this correlation right now between Joule and Bitcoin, and you will find this correlation throughout hundreds of altcoins right now. Look, we had our lunar drop, we had our lunar drop, we went down to here and our little dip in, and we have our little dip in, and look at the shape of that, and then look at the shape of that. They're identical little things going on. Yes, this may at times drop further because the fib level from here to here is a bigger distance than what we have to cover between these little fibs going on with Bitcoin, but essentially it's the same thing playing out, and now we've had our same little bounce action here as what's happened over here. And you'll see it on loads and loads of altcoins, okay? Why is that? I mean, I've said this many times in other videos. I've explained it out in a lot more detail in other videos, so I won't go over and over this, but liquidity pools throughout all of crypto are intertwined and interlinked. So as a result, let's say there's a liquidity pool that has Joule and Bitcoin in it, and Bitcoin's price goes down a little bit. Then automatically arbitrage traders using bots will, because they have to balance the liquidity pool at 1-to-1 ratio, okay? Like for every $1,000 of Joule, there should be $1,000 of Bitcoin, but the price of Bitcoin went down, so the Bitcoin is now worthless. So now some of that Joule gets sold to buy Bitcoin to bring that pool back to a 1-to-1 ratio. So when Bitcoin drops, anything it's paired with in a liquidity pool drops. But a lot of altcoins are paired with Bitcoin, so a lot of altcoins dropped. Joule is paired with a lot of altcoins. Joule is paired with Harmony One. So you'll find Harmony One's graph looks like this. And when Harmony One drops in price, Joule gets sold to buy more Harmony One. It is, it's a symbiotic relationship that goes on. And unfortunately for the overall markets, Bitcoin as well is, to a degree, paired with the stock market and tech stocks in particular. So as a result of that, we find that because there's so many people that are larger traders or larger investors on the stock market, they will have bags of things like maybe tech stocks, and in using their portfolio rebalancing, they may withdraw money from Bitcoin at the same time as maybe go and risk off on Tesla and all these other shares and stuff. Anything that they class in that category, they just lump it all together at once. So Bitcoin gets classed in that sort of category as well. So anyway, let's go have a look at stuff sort of live. As you can see, like the live price here is pretty much the same as my screenshot, because I only took the screenshot moments ago. This is for Joule, okay? And if BTC did have a major drop, I'd be looking at a target price of about 47 cents, I guess, next. But at the moment, I'm looking at Bitcoin, and over on TradingView for Bitcoin on the short-term time frame. This is only 1 hour candles here. Okay, I'm not saying we're not going to go lower. If we look at the longer-term time frame, we're probably going to revisit some of the lows that we hit. Probably, I'm not saying definite, but probably, Bitcoin will probably revisit the lows that it hit when Luna had its crash a few days ago at some stage. But right now, I've had a few people saying, hey, this here is a bear flag, which basically you go down here, you come up, and then you end up down there. That's not what I think this is, because a bear flag, from a trading analysis point of view, usually has higher highs, usually at least 3 or 4 of them. So what have we got? We've got a lot. That high there is, well, yeah, that's one higher high. Great. And then bam, we did not. Like if we'd gone up here and then here, I would have been thinking, yep, that's possible bear flag. and then down to here. That's not what's played out here. We've tipped over the edge. We've actually gone down the other way, down there. So we've got a high and then a lower high. It's gone lower. The lows have not gotten higher like happened in a bear flag. They normally go higher, higher, higher. Oh no, they've gotten lower there. So it's not really playing out like a bear flag at this stage. That's not to say it can't go lower, but the odds are what generally happens when this shape of trading takes place is usually it's kind of what they call a bear trap. You get some people selling some crypto trying to drive the price down before they buy back in about here to try and drive the price right up and try and get it up to, these sort of prices further up anyway, at the very least, to try and get back to here at 31k, but you break through that 31.5k and, be setting targets around the 34k mark as you get through, particularly if you get through this resistance level about here, which is 32,207. So 32,200 basically. You get past there, you're getting more and more likely to test this level. You never know, could go higher up here before we go lower, but there is a long-term sort of resistance down at the moment until the Fed pivots and all of that sort of stuff. But short-term action, that's just how I'm reading it, but I could be wrong. So that's why we never go all in with these things. Now, if it plays out like that, though, we're looking at Joule possibly bouncing either back to here. Maybe if things are really going good, though, we break the lower downtrend. I'm not saying there isn't a higher downtrend we have to break, but we break that one. If we can break out of there and hit here, use that as support and get back up, that would be the most bullish scenario in the short term. I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but it's not out of the realms of possibility if Bitcoin did end up going to 34k and not just to test 31k in this sense. But anyway, that's just how I'm reading it at the moment. Bear in mind, like I say, I'm just some guy on YouTube. I could be wrong. Okay, so don't go all in with this stuff. This was a little buying target for me back here. I bought a little bit more because we hit it again and because I thought it's probably a bear trap, but I didn't buy much more. I'm talking like I just chucked another $1,000 in. It wasn't like I was going to put 10,000 in on this because if I was wrong and we were down here, then that's where I want to be spending it. So there's that. Now let's look at the wider markets. Here we go. So, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weekly candles that are red. So if the overall macro is not going great, I'll move my video there down, then how do we expect Bitcoin and everything else to be going great? It's unlikely to. It's I'm not saying it can't at times decouple from the stock market, but it's unlikely to be sustained. You could have a short-term period where the stock market's going down or sideways and Bitcoin is shooting off, but it won't happen forever when so many of the investors in Bitcoin are institutional investors now, or people with larger bags that also have stocks and shares. So they will treat them similarly. Now, what I want to see is that we bounce off this level here at 38.23 if we eventually get over to that. I think that is certainly vital. And if not, then we're looking at the next fib level down is way down here, and in which case Bitcoin, that's when it may hit its low. It may retest 24.5k. It may even test 22k. Around that level. There's a lot of support. Well, there was a lot of resistance there and a lot of support around this fib level. So that's another possible place where it could be the low of the bear market. And it could take months to get there. It may not go there in a straight line. We may have a bounce down here, and then we're away. It's very tricky to predict right now how things are going to play out until some stage when the Fed pivots. So that's why you've got to be very careful about how you go about playing this particular market and whether or not you even want to go in with any more right now while the Fed is hawkish. Okay, so and looking over at Bitcoin though, we noticed, the lowest we've ever gone was during a black swan event in terms of the regression graph, and that was where we went just below this blue line here. And where's the blue line at now? And that was COVID. So that would take us down to approximately 20k, which is the same as our all-time high back here in 2017. So that is a possible low as well for the overall market that we could bounce up and around and eventually hit before flying off again. But that was the first time we'd ever hit that level. So there's the first time for everything. So you never know that we're not going to hit further down lower. But there's a lot of whales and so forth that weren't buying, that had bought back here, sold up here, and have not bought between here and here, and are just starting to buy now down here. So, that could be telling us something as well about how they're reading the market. And as you can see on the RSI, on the weekly, we're getting very, very low. We're getting towards that oversold territory, but the average RSI is not as low as it can get, as we've seen over here. So, it could take, over to here before we end up seeing that we're actually at the bottom. We could have already seen it, or we may not have reached it yet. So just be careful with anything that you invest in this particular market. I have been sort of edging my way in, looking at the bigger dips to buy in, occasionally taking a little profit off the top on some of the rises so that I can buy another dip, a bigger dip. So anyway, that's my view on that at the moment. Overall, I'm very bullish, say, on the Joule project. I know a lot of you guys that watch our DeFi Kingdoms players and so forth. Overall, I'm pretty bullish, but I'm not saying that we're definitely we've seen the bottom twice. It's a double bottom and then we're up from there. If BTC drops, there's every possibility of those lower lows being put in. So then, they are the bigger opportunity. So I'm just edging in a little bit here, but just being careful. Okay, so anyway, that's it for this particular video. I hope that you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now, everybody.